So, Tokyo Ghoul is the most recent chapter to come to Dead by Daylight, and there is a lot of controversy with this new edition. Some people stating that the Ghoul is way too strong and immediately needs a nerf, others stating that they are extremely weak and next to impossible to 4K with. So I did my due diligence. I've played over 40 matches as the Ghoul, I've used the best perks, I've used no perks, I've used the best add-ons, I've used the worst add-ons, and I've tried my best to figure out what they need to improve and where they currently stand. So, does the Ghoul need a nerf? Or does the Ghoul need a buff? And this is where my opinion gets interesting and probably differentiated from others. I think they need both. And I know that's an interesting statement and a bit of a weird one, but I'll explain a little right now. So the one major part about the Ghoul's power that is definitely problematic is the first initial hit with the rage. I'm going to show you a clip here of just how easy it is to get a hit and immediately become enraged. There's no avoiding it at some stages. Now that hit was instantaneous, there was no avoiding that, there is no dodging that, there is no hiding from it, because the second that icon appears above your character or over top of you, you're basically hit if the Ghoul chooses to click. If they miss or if they don't click in time, because there isn't really any missing, then they won't get it. But other than that, they are almost confirmed to get the hit every time. Now the hit itself is problematic in every way, but there's more problems to it. You see, once you get that hit, you can't down that character as the Ghoul, not with your Kagune ability, but you can down them with a normal M1. And this is another sort of factor where the problem comes into play. Not being able to down with the power is fine, I'm sure no one minds that, but being able to immediately follow up with an M1 afterwards should not be possible. And I know you're probably thinking, but there's a huge stun and they're massively delayed. Yeah, they are, but the second they get their ability back, they can jump in front and body block. I'll display another clip. Now that wasn't a body block clip, but this was the simplest clip I had that could just explain how intense the jump, like the leap, is. Like, this was a injured survivor ages away, and I did one singular leap from a hook survivor and caught up with them. Seamlessly exited my power with no problems at all, and got an immediate down. Now unfortunately for Meg, she didn't have any pallets to play around. If she did, that chase may have turned out quite differently, as one of the Ghoul's #1 sort of weaknesses is pallets. If you could go from pallet to pallet to pallet to pallet to pallet, that would be fine. You'll probably survive every chase with the Ghoul. But unfortunately, a lot of maps don't work like that. And 90% of the time, there is a big loop, small loop, no loop. And that is kind of it. There's a safe pallet, unsafe pallet, and that is it. And if you pre-drop both of them, then that's fine. You'll survive that. But the second they're gone and you don't find another pallet, you're kind of screwed. Now that we've successfully established their weaknesses and strengths, I think we should go over what changes should or need to be made. The first one I'd say is that initial Kagune attack needs to be changed. I don't know how they could change it because it's part of the way the Ghoul feels so smooth, which is honestly part of the reason so many people like playing it. I admit I have so much fun dashing around the map, massively covering huge distances and managing to get hits at the end of it is really fun, but it's not exactly fair. Whilst I have fun doing that, oftentimes, when we come up to a bunch of loops and I get pre-dropped 45 times, I kind of stop having fun as the Ghoul. Either way, yeah, alright, let's go over the nerfs and buffs. So obviously the traversal is one of the biggest things that needs a nerf, so I'd go ahead and say that if we removed the extra dash whilst they were enraged, it would take away a huge amount of pressure from the Ghoul, and with this would obviously make them incredibly weak too. But it's just too easy to get your rage, in my opinion. Once you're enraged, it's just too easy to get everywhere, and I get how fun it is, and I really enjoy it, and I get how it kind of balances out the power for the Ghoul, but it's slightly too strong. However, to support this, I'd give them an extra braking speed for pallets and brick walls and generators whilst enraged. I'd probably make it anywhere between 20 and 40% just because of how weak they are to pallets, and potentially even give them some extra leap cooldown, like just make it a little bit shorter for them. And if we absolutely must keep the third leap, then I'd take away the whole grapple aspect. What I would have instead is that the Ghoul can sort of latch onto a survivor, but they themselves still have to walk up and get the M1. Like, they can pull a survivor back, hold them down, and instead of having the immediate interaction of there's nothing you can do and you're injured, I would fully rework them basically and have it so that the survivor is grabbed, and if they make it to a window or a pallet or something, then they're safe. but if they are like kind of like Pinhead's chains in a way. But if they're kind of stuck, then you get the M1 no matter what. That way it wouldn't be such an instantaneous hit, and there would be some form of counterplay to it too. Although I guess you could just like pallet camp and locker camp and, you know, window camp. It doesn't really work out, so I best leave all this nerfing and buffing to the devs. Anyway, yeah, I think that's going to do it for today. The Ghoul is a great killer, and I think they are definitely in the higher rankings of, well, Dead by Daylight's killers, but there's not really much more to be said. They're strong, they're weak at times, but honestly their strength is so like insane compared to other killers. Like Blight isn't even this strong, in my opinion. Blight has mad traversal, but the Ghoul is faster than the Blight, which is insane. Faster than every killer, I think, even Billy with add-ons, which is kind of crazy. Either way, the Ghoul is great. I think they're really fun. I don't want them to be changed at all. I'm a really big sort of fan of the whole, it's a bad guy, let them be strong. Like, this is the killer of the match you're in, let them be strong, that they need to be to win. And it's like, whilst I agree with that, I can also understand how many people would see it as completely unfair, because it's just, well, you know, this killer can do whatever the fuck they want and win all the time. And it's like, a lot of killers can't. Like, you take Trapped, for example, who spends 45 minutes setting up only to fail in the end, no matter what. And yeah, honestly, it's quite hard to sort of come up with what kind of nerfs should be placed, so again, I'll leave that to the devs. And if they don't want to nerf the Ghoul, I'm sure us as a community can find some sort of counter for it, some sort of way to counter the Ghoul that's better than what's happening now. But yeah, maybe we should all just start running in No Mither and Iron Will, alright? That's my plan. I'll let you know how that goes. Anyway, have a good day or night depending on where you live, everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.